barracks in the dark light of the aftermath. We got the results. We spoke briefly at St Saviour's. Have you followed the campaign?
Yeah, very much so. Been very much part of the campaign from about 3 weeks solid. I've been part of the campaign, definitely. Spent the majority of my Easter holidays actually going out putting flyers around.
Obviously you've got the taste for it, for the dreaded word politics.
Yeah.
More to come?
Definitely. Definitely not the last you're going to hear from me. I'm currently working on something which hopefully will bring more students to get involved in politics. I'm trying to start up a group called the Jersey Students Association.
I must say I was out in the street, talking to people, and I've been slightly encouraged by the young people that are showing an interest. Is that something you're meeting up with?
Yeah, I'm very worried about the lack of interest in politics by young people. It's something that can certainly be sorted out. We need a bigger introduction to politics at a younger age.
We discussed it at St Saviour's, didn't we? The lack of, the fact that it isn't really taught at schools. A lot of people are afraid of teaching politics at schools because they think they're going to turn you all into raving revolutionaries, but this is an everyday business, isn't it, politics?
Yeah, it's something that everyone needs to be able to understand. I'm not saying they have to follow it religiously, they don't have to get involved all the time, but they have to. I think it should be something which everyone has a basic knowledge of, because then when it comes to important things like votes and elections, then they'll have that general knowledge of their own to go off their own opinions of who they want to vote for and why, and they won't have to listen to other people and just go on what everyone else is saying.
Sam has been very in the forefront on this. He's a young person.
Yeah.
He's at college. He'll be finishing soon.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we asked him what happens to you. Are you off to college?
I'm staying in the island for a couple of years. I'm going to be doing a business and management degree with it's with Plymouth University, but I did the first 2 years of it at Highlands. Just staying on accommodation really, because university is expensive. So
your family, are they at all political?
I wouldn't say they're political. My brother used to be quite political. My brother is best friends with Sam. That's how I know Sam. Obviously I've had that influence with my brother. But I wouldn't say my family are political, but my dad is very interested in current affairs and stuff, so we have a discussion about that a lot of the time. A lot of politics that I've learned myself. My dad's not that much into politics. He's a former Conservative, but he's not really into island politics.
Strange thing, but when people are of the establishment, they may in fact be very political, but people don't look upon them as being political if they're of the establishment.
No, not at all.
It's generally the lefties that are looked at as political.
Yeah, definitely. And what's irritating is when anyone says something that's against the grain, they get accused of being a communist or being crazy, which is ridiculous, because at the end of the day, I think what's been pretty obvious from this referendum is that Jersey needs change, and it needs change soon, and it needs a democracy, and unfortunately option B is not going to bring that democracy to the island. Democracy is what we need.
Most grateful to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm with Michelle in a rather noisy place, but you've been following the campaign.
Yeah, I have.
What did you make of it all?
I think it was interesting to see how the public clearly wants some sort of reform. There's outstanding call for some sort of change in the island, which I think is really good. And I think it was a really close call between A and B. So hopefully, with some sort of negotiations, we'll be able to get what we want in the first place.
Some optimism for change.
I think we've got to have some optimism for change, otherwise change is never going to happen, really. Because if we start talking about it as if it's some sort of impossible goal, some sort of unattainable dream, it's never going to happen. It starts with people.
I'm not supposed to say with a lady, you're a young lady. Are you a student?
Yeah, I am a student. Year 13, my last year.
Yeah. Do you mix politically with students?
I think it's quite difficult to mix politically with students because there's not really a sort of political culture amongst students. It's really difficult to get people who feel like they don't have a say or don't particularly feel like they should have a say, because I think with a lot of students, apathy is a huge problem. I mean, people don't know about any sort of political situations. A lot of people didn't know about the referendum at all. A lot of people weren't even registered, weren't aware that they needed to register, weren't aware of the situation in the slightest. And I think that really does need to be addressed in some way or another.
What's going on that there can be anybody who can't know about an election when it's going on? What's missing in people's heads?
I think the media, they did make some sort of they did campaign for it and advertise it a bit, but I think with students it needs to be in the schools, but it's difficult for schools to get involved unless they have a sort of political opinion or a political agenda that people can observe. So
obviously when people are 16 now they can register to vote.
Yeah.
Is that encouraged at schools? Does somebody come round with a bell and say you're 16?
No, they don't at all really. The only reason I'm registered is because in the elections last year I registered and voted no's. So, and because my family are quite into making sure we vote in all the elections, but at school there really isn't. I think there was more of a sort of fuss made about the UK elections, the Lib Dems and Conservatives, than there were for the Jersey elections. I remember there was a ballot for that election, but there wasn't one for the referendum or for the Jersey elections. I think with this system in place now, it's just far too sort of complex and far too sort of almost outdated and outdated, and no one really cares or understands it or cares to understand it. And I think there needs to be some sort of change.
In the working areas, especially St Helier, remarkably low turnout for this particular thing. Does that mean that the working class especially are not interested?
I think it's not a case of not being interested. I think in particular with St Helier, if you're told again and again that your vote counts less than, say, the country parishes, then you're not going to be inclined to vote in order to change that. It's a vicious circle. The more they feel like they don't have a say, the less inclined they're going to be to try and get that say out. It's just a kind of unfortunate situation.
There was a group that got together for A. Obviously there were other groups that got together, but this particular group for A, do you think it's the basis for a political group to go on to other things?
I think it could be because, I think more so than the other groups that were together, it's got sort of huge diversity in it. There's a lot of different age groups, a lot of different nationalities, some Polish and Portuguese mixed in. And I think with A in particular, there's a sort of vision, there's a sort of idea and a sort of aim for the future to really stand for equality and to really make sure that there is some reform in the island. And I think there could be scope for some sort of...
This year we've had Plemont, now we've had this referendum. There's a sort of a trend towards organising political campaigns. Do you think, they're one-issue campaigns, do you think that might be the way to go forward? Or?
I think that issues are sort of what gets the public motivated, because the public aren't going to be motivated about little things. They want to be motivated about things that affect them in particular. So I guess so, but I think involving the issues with sort of a continuous sort of campaign or a continuous stream of people might lead to a sort of more unified idea, a unified group of people that people can turn to and people can trust in to sort of give them the right opinion and to really help them sort of shape their political ideals.
Because you're a woman, I must ask you about the lack of interest in women's rights in Jersey. Why is it? It's come up several times in this campaign. People have spoken about the suffragettes and how they had to fight for the vote. But in this island, there's a noticeable absence of agitation for women because you don't have equality.
Yeah, discrimination laws are still not a thing in Jersey, and I think that's absolutely disgraceful. But like I said, if people don't know about it, a lot of people don't realise that we don't have these systems and laws in place. They just assume that we probably do. It's the 21st century, the UK has it, surely Jersey does, but a lot of people don't understand the system currently in place, and therefore they're not going to be one to fight against it. There's a real ignorance about the island in general that I think is really holding back.
Did you ever write letters to the JEP or get involved with blogs or anything of that sort?
I do follow quite a few blogs, and I don't really read the JEP because it sort of infuriates me. I get a lot of my news from different sources, different blogs, so that's where I prefer to get my news, because I think it tends to be more unbiased. There's a less sort of bias.
So in 18 months' time, when there's an election,
I will be.
You'll be active. You'll be around.
Yeah. I'll be as active as I can be while I'm at university. I'll definitely be doing what I can, and I'll definitely be voting.
We shall hope to stay in touch.
Thank you.